Conspiracy theories, NBA agendas. My theory on last night's Warriors-Rockets Cup game, was it the quarterfinals, semifinals? I don't know. I don't have it down, but they're in Houston last night, and I kind of thought, hey, man, I don't know if the Warriors exactly want to win this. Like you play this extra game, and I don't know. I think that there's going to be a bad omen moving forward with this cup and the teams that actually do win it, just psychologically throughout the rest of the season. You saw what happened with the Lakers and Pacers. Clearly, I was wrong. It was very obvious the Warriors wanted to win this game. Steve Kerr wanted to win this game. And if you wanted to stay with your tinfoil cap on in these agendas and theories, it was like, hey, Lakers win it last year. Wouldn't it be fitting for Steph Curry and the Warriors to win it this year? So I had also thought that, hey, maybe we will get a favorable whistle in these cup games to try to give us a nudge into the championship game. Again, I was wrong, right? And I don't like focusing on these things, but I have a breakdown now, 15 minutes. The link will be in the description. In fact, I'll make it free for if you go sign up as a free patron member, you can check this one out because I had a lot to say about it. The context of the entire game matters when it comes to that last call. Not only did Fred VanVleet pancake GP2 on the initial loose ball along the sideline, right? But just a couple minutes earlier, Draymond hits the floor for a loose ball, and I believe it was Amen Thompson. Again, it's all in the breakdown. Just dives all over him. I mean, it looked like someone taking full guard in a UFC fight. No call, no whistle. And then they had the nerve to call the 8-second violation on the dot after they allowed that scramble. Şengün and Draymond were in a sumo match in the fourth quarter. Steph was getting hit on his release from the first quarter. So they were letting them play. They're swallowing the whistle, and then all of a sudden you make that call. Now, I hear some Dub Nation people say, hey, they deserved it. The way they executed down the stretch, Steph goes early on that shot, right? There's a 3-second shot clock, game clock differential. Typically, when you watch an NBA game, it's 8 or 9 seconds when you go. When you're trying to take the final shot on a possession, they usually start to call the screen up or they initiate the action 7, 8, 9 seconds, right? And Steph went at 12. And I think you have to credit Houston for what they do to offenses. They speed you up. They're so fast. They're so athletic. They're so aggressive. Even when you do have a window to shoot, you don't think you have it because they've sped you up. And you saw that all night with the 22 turnovers, and that's what Houston does. And so I think a part of me thinks that, Dillon Brooks is out on him. They're 45 feet from the basket. Part of it is Steph is like, they make you uncomfortable. I know it sounds silly to say, oh, Steph's uncomfortable with the ball and in that situation, but Brooks, all of them, they're so physical, they're so on you. Again, speeding the Warriors up the entire game, not just that possession. Steph ends up getting the shot you'll live and die with, right? That step back moving to the left, he just doesn't knock it down. And so I get that we've got bigger issues to address when it comes to closing games for this Warriors roster, right? And I was all right with losing the game. You know how I feel. I didn't want them to win this cup. I think it's a bad omen. I didn't want to lose like that. That was nasty work from the refereeing. And back to the agenda thing, so that it's not the Warriors, right? It does make sense if the league was like, hey, you know what? Let's highlight the young and up-and-coming teams for this cup tournament. Let the veteran teams shine in the playoffs where they typically do, but for this in-season tournament, have the Thunder, have the Rockets. And I know the Thunder are legit contenders, right? But it makes sense to boost this Rockets team into the spotlight because they are one of the teams that I think, people feel are up next. And, the Rockets, I've said this for a few years now. I like Jabari Smith the best out of their young core. Now, is he a franchise player? No, right? At best, he's your second star. But I think his game and growth has kind of been stunted by Jalen Green and Şengün commanding so many touches and being such a focal point of their offense. And you saw Jabari, he did it efficiently last night. I wonder what he would look like now. Is he in year 3? Had the situation environment been a little bit different where his game would have been nurtured. And so, like Thompson twins, right? The Rockets are tough, man. They might be the most athletic team. I am excited to see this Rockets Thunder matchup. Were we going to get past the Thunder? Maybe. And I credit the Warriors for it, right? We were stumbling. I think they were down 14, right? Kerr calls a timeout, draws up a three for Pods, and he hits it. I'm just so baffled with the Podziemski shooting thing, right? And you look at his numbers last night. I think he was like 3 of 6, 3 of 9. He hit two. Did he hit 2 threes? It almost seems as if I've already talked about the wrist release mechanically, but it seems like when he knows the shot's coming, it looks a lot better. And I know you could say that about almost any player, right? But when it's plan B or when it's an improv shot, he's like missing everything, right? But his floor game, his hustle, his effort, he had like 4 assists. He should have had 6 or 7 if we finished some of the plays. So I thought Pods played well. And I thought he got fouled on that final shot too. It was insane. Again, I'm all right with losing, but not like that. But I thought the Warriors, there were some positives besides that. Besides the closing issue, which we already know, it looks like they're looking to address here pretty soon after December 15th, right? Like, we certainly missed Wiggins in that scenario, but this is what Houston does. They guard you straight up and they speed you up. They're like, no, you're going to beat us one-on-one. We're not sending help. We're not doing this. Get by us. Oh, yeah, and we have an athlete at every position that will recover. Trace Jackson all of a sudden jumps back into the rotation. I guess he was only benched for 1 game, right? And I was happy to see him get another chance so quickly. And you could tell that he kind of got the message. Right away, he like spins into a big 2-handed dunk. I saw him try to drop step and take the baseline. He was more aggressive offensively, which was fine. Cool. I'm glad he got the opportunity. However, in hindsight, Loon only getting 11 minutes last night. I mean, Loon's been so good, right? He's been so good. And then you look at how they mashed the offensive glass. Didn't love that situation there, but hopefully Trace can respond. And he, not only does he have to just be more aggressive, just go up stronger, he also has to learn how to play the glass. Have you ever seen Trace kiss it like off the top of the square? I haven't. It's just like the pump fake thing. Pump fake and then learn to play the glass a little higher. He's always trying to squeeze the ball like in that little armpit area of the rim and where the backboard meets. And that's such a low percentage shot just from a geometry perspective, right? But again, it looked like he had a little pep in his step and a little more aggression. Like, all right, I get it. I've got to be more aggressive. Otherwise, I won't play. And then Lindy Waters, what did he play? 23 minutes, maybe a little bit too many. Moody is out, obviously. But I think you saw him get more comfortable with the more minutes he played. You saw him. Now, my 2 knocks for Lindy would be, I'm not worried about his shot. He hit 2 very timely threes in this game. There's 2 issues that I see with Lindy that he's got to correct. One, team defensive-wise, he doesn't communicate. And if you watch the tape, he is involved in a lot of blown switches, and he's just not talking. He's just not a talker. It's hard to get that out of a guy who, personality-wise probably doesn't talk much, right? So there's that. And then we all see offensively, he's got to be stronger with the ball when the ball's in his hands. Too many times it gets poked out of his hands or, they just kind of bump him off balance. And he's got a high center of gravity. He's a lanky dude. But I think that he could get in the weight room and he could get stronger and just be a little more assertive, decisive with the ball. Pound the dribble. But I thought he played pretty well. And so I think those were 2 positives. Buddy eventually got going, right? But yeah, man, it just sucks to lose that way. I don't have much more to say about it. Steve Kerr, I guess the end, as far as Kerr not challenging that call, I agree with him because you're not going to get it overturned. It's too subjective of a call, as well as don't get it twisted. By definition, Kuminga fouled whoever he jumped on for that loose ball. Was it Eason? Whoever it was, right? Because what did the dude say? It was the neck and shoulder area. By definition, it's a foul. So you're not going to win that challenge. But contextually, they hadn't called it all game, right? If you go, again, I encourage you to check the breakdown out. There are so many of those scrambles, loose balls, guys hitting the floor, and there's no whistle whatsoever. So to call it on that play, it just makes you wonder, right? It just makes you wonder. I haven't read the 2-minute report or all that, but I loved Kerr just going off. these closes, these fourth quarters, we can all feel it coming. Now it's almost psychological, right? It's like, oh boy, here we go again. Now, are they going to address this in a trade? And I'm going to drop another video tomorrow talking more about these trade rumors since they're swirling so crazy. So, you imagine that may be the case. And look, ultimately, Steph, he owned up to the mistake. It's a surprising mistake from him. What do we have, 22 turnovers? And look, they can bring in another star. Steph and Draymond have to be better down the stretch offensively, not being as predictable, just being stronger and more decisive with the ball. And Steve has to help them by finding some sort of closing lineup. I get the fifth guy may change, right? There may be a night where it's GP2, it may be Looney, but you've got to find your four. You imagine it's Steph, Draymond, Wiggins, and Kuminga, and then the fifth guy, right? But just simplify things and get them in space. A lot of our actions, you're bringing too many people to the ball. You know what I'm saying? But ultimately, not to shoot them bail, but this is turn on a fourth quarter in the NBA and you're like, oh, it's over. It's a 12-point. It's not over. Not the way teams shoot the three and really the lack of execution fundamentals league-wide. So it is a thing. They get a couple days off to lick their wounds. Hopefully Wiggins will be back for Sunday's game, which I'm excited about. I might have to hop on a live stream for that one Sunday. Hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.